So back in 71, there was this top 20 hit by the group The Buoys. And it was a hit, not in spite of, because of the fact it was banned by radio stations. Why? Well, let's just say the lyrics are a little hard to stomach. You've been warned. My name is Phil Yale, and this is Un-phil-tered. So over the years, I've learned that desperate people do desperate things. And in the music business, oh, wow, they do some crazy things. I mean, it's a dog eat dog world. In this case, it got a little bit more personal because the desperate people in this tale include a recording group in desperate need of a hit record and a songwriter in desperate need of getting his name out there. And that songwriter's name is Rupert Holmes. Now, we know Rupert Holmes from the Escape song, also called the Piña Colada Song. You know, a song with the lyrics, how does it go? If you like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain, if you're not into yoga, if you have half a brain, those lyrics. And actually, as I think about it, it really is kind of an interesting tale because that particular song, the Piña Colada Song, also called Escape, it tells the story of a married couple cheating on each other with each other. It was the 70s. So anyway, the Buoys were signed by a record label called Scepter Records. The Scepter Records at the time had B.J. Thomas and Diana Warwick, and both of those had hits. And Scepter Records wanted a hit from the Buoys, even though they told them they weren't going to provide them with any promotional money to help support them. And that really frustrated the producer of the group. And he was sharing this frustration with a friend of his, and that friend was, of course, Rupert Holmes. And Rupert Holmes says, "Hey, I got a recipe for a hit record. Write lyrics that would get banned by radio stations. The banning by the radio stations would create free publicity, bringing attention to the record and ultimately propelling it onto the charts." It was the 70s. Virtually everything. You could talk about anything in songs in the 70s. What could possibly be off limits? Cannibalism. Cannibalism. So the song is centered around this fictional tale about how three men walk into a cave. There's Timothy, that's the name of the song, by the way, and Joe and the narrator. Three men go in, two men come out. Now, when they go in, this cave collapses, and for several days, there's no food, there's no water, there's seemingly no way out. And it gets desperate to the point where the lyric says, "Hungry as hell, no food to eat." Joe says he would sell his soul for just a piece of meat. Timothy, God, what did we do? Of course, the lyrics got banned, especially in the major markets. And that banning brought attention to, quote unquote, the Cannibal Song, and people wanted to hear it. People wanted to buy the records. It created enough curiosity. The free publicity that took place created the curiosity, which drove demand for the record. Ultimately, it peaked at number 17 on the charts. Rupert Holmes' crazy recipe for creating a charting hit was successful. But what about the group? Well, after that charting song, they had one more minor hit, and then, well, there just wasn't much appetite for their music. Sorry, I had to do it. What about Scepter Records? Scepter Records, they rode that wave as a result of the success of that song. Even though they wouldn't promote it in the beginning, they started to promote it, but they had to be careful because they really couldn't promote a song about cannibalism, so they kind of changed it and said, well, Timothy was the name of a mule, which, by the way, Rupert Holmes said, nope, they ate Timothy. As we got into a couple years after the release of the song, or a year or two after the release of the song, they lost their big stars, B.J. Thomas and Diana Warwick. By the mid-'70s, Scepter Records pivoted into the beginning part of the disco era. It didn't work out. Ultimately, they closed their doors in 1976. What about Rupert Holmes, the songwriter that created this strategy to intentionally get his song that he wrote banned by radio stations? He ended up with a couple more hits, him and Answering Machine. He moved into theater, won 2 Tony Awards, and was the creator of a TV series on the AMC network called Remember When. Remember, WENN. Song intentionally written to be banned becomes a hit record about cannibalism. It was the 70s. And back in the 70s, every song was on a vinyl records that have grooves. And hidden many times in those grooves are tales just waiting to be spun. Join me as we spin those tales together. My name is Phil Yale, and this is Unfiltered.